Welcome back to our channel, everyone. Today's a brand new day with plenty of drama to unpack, so grab your coffee and let us get right into the latest. Updates from Port Charles and the real world beyond the screen. And when you hear about a major soap star taking a hiatus from the show, you usually think they're off shooting a movie or something. Or maybe just taking a well-deserved vacation on a tropical beach somewhere to recharge. But no, not Steve. Steve Burton is dealing with some heavy real-life family issues right now. And honestly, it just breaks my heart for him. So TMZ recently dropped a huge report, and it turns out Steve is back in court with his ex-wife, Sheree Burton. He is basically asking a judge to step in and make sure she actually complies with their custody agreement, because apparently things have gotten really messy again. And it just makes you wonder when this stuff ever actually ends. You get a divorce, you think it is all over and settled, but it is never really over when there are kids involved, especially young kids who are caught in the middle of it all. So the whole issue that Steve has brought to the court's attention is all about their one-year-old daughter, Brooklyn. They currently share joint legal and physical custody of her. That was the agreement they established during their divorce back in 2023. And joint custody sounds great on paper. It really does. It sounds fair and balanced. But it only works if both parents are actually willing to work together and communicate like adults. And according to Steve, that is just not happening here. He's alleging that Sheree is flat out interfering with his custody time, which is just so frustrating to even read about. The daytime drama leading man is claiming that Sheree did not honor their legal agreement when she refused to give him Brooklyn back in July. July, that is prime summer vacation time. That is when you are supposed to be making memories with your kids. Going to the beach, taking road trips, just bonding, and he didn't get to do that. As per the TMZ report, the legal documents state that Sheree engaged in a pattern of unilateral decision-making and deliberate obstruction that has effectively stripped Steve of his court-ordered parenting time. Okay, wow. That is a lot of intense legal jargon. But you get what I mean. Unilateral decision-making. That basically means she is just doing whatever she wants without even asking him or consulting him. And deliberate obstruction. That means she is actively trying to block him from seeing his own kid. Stripped of his court-ordered time. That is a heavy accusation to make in family court. But Steve is not just throwing words around for the sake of drama. He has specific examples. He alleges that instead of sticking to the custody schedule that the judge signed off on, his ex-wife just went ahead and enrolled Brooklyn in a 6-week California program. 6 weeks. That is almost the entire summer break, and it completely conflicts with his scheduled time with his daughter. So this whole 6-week program thing basically inhibited Steve from having any real vacation time with Brooklyn. And he is obviously really upset about it. He added in the court filing that Sheree placed Brooklyn Wright in the center of their conflict for absolutely no reason. He stated that he felt manipulated by her actions. And honestly, who wouldn't feel manipulated? You plan your whole summer around the weeks you get to have your kid. You probably book flights, make plans, get excited to just hang out. And then boom, your ex just signs him up for a camp or a program and says, sorry, she is busy. It is manipulative. It really is. Maybe I am being too harsh on Sheree because we are only hearing Steve's side of the story right now. Okay? That sounded a bit dramatic, but you get what I mean. There are always two sides. But if the court documents are true, it is just a really bad look. You guys know how I feel about parents putting kids in the middle of their fights. It is just wrong. It is always the kid who suffers the most in these situations. And because of all this, Steve has requested that the judge force his ex-wife to follow their custody deal. And he has also asked that she pay $5,000 for not following their agreement. Now, $5,000 might not sound like $1 million to a successful soap star, but it is the principle of the thing. It is a penalty. It is saying, hey, there are actual consequences when you ignore a court order. You can't just do whatever you want and expect me to just roll over and take it quietly. I think he is doing the right thing by standing his ground here. Because if you let it slide once, they will just keep doing it over and over. So he is drawing a line in the sand. Good for him. He has to protect his rights as a father. Let us take a step back and look at the whole Burton saga for a minute. Because this has been a really long, really messy road for them. Steve and Sheree were married for 23 years. 23 years. That is an absolute lifetime in Hollywood. Or anywhere, really. But he filed for divorce in 2022, and the way it all went down was just wild. The fans on social media were absolutely losing their minds when the news broke. Sheree had announced on her Instagram that she was pregnant with her fourth child. She posted a picture and everything, but then Steve had to come out and publicly clarify that it was not his baby. He said they had been separated at the time. Can you even imagine having to put out a public statement about your wife being pregnant with another man's child while you are still legally married? It was a massive scandal. It was everywhere. Every soap blog, every gossip site, every magazine. It was just crazy. So they share 3 children together in total. Their 2 older kids, Jack and McKenna, are adults now. So they don't have to deal with all this family court custody schedule nonsense. They can just see their dad whenever they want to. They are out of the crossfire. But Brooklyn is only 11. She is still a minor. She still has to follow the rules of the court and the schedules her parents make. And that means she's the one getting caught in the middle of this post-divorce tension. It breaks my heart for her. I mean, what were they thinking? Well, what was Sheree thinking? Enrolling her in a 6-week program when she knows it is Steve's time. Who actually believes this is going to end well for anyone? It just breeds more resentment and anger. And now they have to spend money on lawyers and go sit in a courtroom instead of just co-parenting peacefully. And while Steve is dealing with all this real life stress, it totally explains why Jason is off canvas right now on General Hospital. The writers had to figure out a way to write Jason out for a bit so Steve could go handle his business and be with his family. And honestly, the storyline they came up with is just as stressful as the real life stuff. Jason is currently sitting in WSB custody. And why is he there? Because he is taking the fall for Rocco Falconeri. Rocco is the one who actually shot Ross Cullum on the pier. Rocco A. Kid. And Jason, being the ultimate protector that he is, just stepped up and took the blame. He let the WSB haul him away just to save Rocco from Cullum's wrath. It is so classic Jason, right? He is always sacrificing his own freedom for the people he cares about. But the fallout in Port Charles has been an absolute disaster, because with Jason gone, his own son Danny is completely spiraling out of control. Danny is grieving in his own way. He misses his dad. He knows Jason is locked up because of some mob-adjacent WSB mess. And Danny has decided that Jen Sidwell is the root of all Jason's problems. Which, to be fair, Sidwell is a massive problem. But Danny is just a teenager. He should not be trying to take on a ruthless guy like Sidwell. But Danny doesn't care. He actually went to Sonny Corinthos and basically begged to get in on the mob action. He wants to take the law into his own hands. He wants revenge for his dad. Sonny turned him down, obviously. Sonny knows Jason would absolutely kill him if he let Danny get involved in the cartel life. Remember that podcast episode Steve did recently with Bradford Anderson? Bradford plays Spinelli, obviously. And Bradford asked Steve what he thought about Danny becoming Jason 2 on the show. And Steve immediately shook his head and gave a stern no. He was so adamant about it. He questioned why anyone would even want that for Danny. Because Jason's life has not exactly been a bed of roses. He has been near death so many times. He has been presumed dead multiple times. And Steve knows that Jason would never, ever want his son to join the mob. Jason only survived it because of his brain injury from that car crash with AJ years ago. It altered his perception of fear and emotion. It made it easier for him to be an enforcer. Danny doesn't have that. Danny is just a grieving, angry kid. So it is incredibly ironic that while Steve is saying no way on his podcast, Danny is on screen literally begging Sonny to let him fight Sidwell. And because Danny is so upset and reckless right now without his dad around, he ended up causing a massive, horrific car crash on Route 91. He and Charlotte Cassadine were on a joyride. Danny wanted to go fast. Charlotte let him drive her car. And they ended up swerving into oncoming traffic. And who did they? Almost hit Jordan and Curtis Ashford. Jordan was driving and she was totally distracted because she was passionately kissing Curtis. Which, by the way, what were they thinking? Kissing while driving at night on a dark road. So Jordan swerves to avoid Danny and Charlotte, and Jordan and Curtis crash. The car catches on fire. It is a whole mess. Jordan is severely injured, and Brooklyn Quartermain is also involved because she hit the guardrail that same night after drinking and just kept driving. And now Carly is running around trying to cover up Danny and Charlotte's involvement in the crash. She's having the car secretly repaired. She's lying to everyone because Carly is always going to protect Jason's kid, but it is just making everything worse. And meanwhile, Curtis is totally projecting his own guilt about the crash. Remember, Curtis caused the crash by kissing Jordan instead of looking at the road. But instead of admitting that, Curtis is aggressively pointing the finger at Isaiah Gannon. He is officially telling Ada, Justine Turner, that Isaiah is the hit and run driver. It is a complete mess. And it all stems from the fact that Jason is not there to keep things in order. If Jason was in Port Charles, he would have a handle on Danny. He would sit him down, talk some sense into him. But Jason is stuck in a WSB cell, taking the fall for Rocco. And Steve Burton is stuck in a California family court fighting for his right to see his daughter. It is just heavy on all fronts. So you have to wonder how this is all going to play out. On the show, the truth about Rocco shooting Cullum is slowly leaking out. Rocco just confessed to Britt Westbourne in the GH chapel. He completely broke down, and Britt totally freaked out. She warned Rocco that if Cullum finds out, they are all dead. Because Cullum is the guy who murdered Marco Rios. He is ruthless. So Britt is panicking. Cassius is panicking. Lulu is fuming because Cassius told her about Rocco's confession. It is a ticking time bomb. Eventually the truth has to come out and Jason has to be cleared. But until then, the chaos just continues. Port Charles is literally falling apart without Jason to hold the pieces together. And back in the real world, Steve is just waiting for a judge to make a ruling on this custody mess. I really hope the judge sees what is going on and puts a stop to it. Custody agreements are court orders for a reason. You have to follow them. You can't just make unilateral decisions because you feel like it. Steve deserves his vacation time with Brooklyn. He deserves to be a dad. He has been working so hard on the soap, running his podcast with Bradford Anderson, touring the country, meeting fans. The guy just wants to spend his hiatus with his kid. Is that too much to ask? I don't think so. I really don't. Fans on social media have been super supportive of Steve through all this. You see the comments, people are just rallying behind him. They know how much he loves his kids. And honestly, it just makes you appreciate the actors who bring these characters to life. They deal with so much real-life drama behind the scenes, but they still show up and entertain us every single day. Or, well, when they aren't on hiatus. We miss Jason. The show feels empty without him. The mob stuff with Sonny Sidwell. And Ethan Lovett just isn't the same without Jason standing right there by Sonny's side looking stoic.